Hello, I'm Bud McCord. I'm here in Brazil, South America. Welcome to Food for Thought, Thinking with Jesus. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. The Apostle Paul assures us in 1 Corinthians chapter 2 that we have the mind of Christ. And I want to encourage you to go beyond thinking about Jesus, but listening to Jesus and thinking with the mind of Christ. Really want to encourage you to believe there's a possibility for you to filter all of your thinking in the presence of Jesus Christ and get the answers directly from Him in the light of the Scriptures, but also thinking with Jesus. So today it's October 26, 2020. It's been a rough year across the globe in a lot of people's lives. It's been the worst year of their lives. And so it is interesting that we take a time to think about the possibility of happiness. The title of today's devotional is Mobile Happiness or Portable Happiness, or even another might be Universal Happiness. We want to think about the possibility of happiness and who can have happiness and how can it be reached by everyone. Listen to these words of Jesus, some of the most remarkable words that I believe He ever spoke, and they're not really emphasized very often in sermons, because honestly, I think that we just really don't believe what He said. Let's think about that together. Let's think with Jesus about this. Jesus said in John 15:11, I have told you this so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete. He had just told them about the vineyard. He told him about abiding in His love. He also just told him that He was getting ready to leave and go back to the Father, and that they would be, in a sense, alone without His physical presence. In the middle of that, He makes this remarkable statement. I have told you this so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete. And here is the question. Do we believe that the joy of Jesus can come inside of us and be a kind of joy that needs no external support, but rather is complete in and of itself within us? Do we actually believe that such a delivery of love from Jesus to us is available to us? And do we believe it is available to every believer on the face of the earth? Pretty big questions. Now, during my many years here in this world, I've met a lot of people. And one of the most positive people that I ever met is a very dear friend. His name is Paul Picard. He lives in Jacksonville, Florida. And I've known Paul since I was a teenager. And he was always a reference point for me, an example, an inspiration of what it is to be a positive, hardworking, godly father. And he was a very successful businessman. And he had a tremendous influence on me and continues to have influence on me. And Paul had a characteristic about himself that I always thought was really interesting. And he carried this out. I'm sure today, if I picked up the phone and called Paul and asked him this question, he would answer it the same way. Whenever I would ask Paul, how are you, Paul? He would say, Bud, it's unbelievable. Every time I asked him, how are you, Paul? He said, Bud, it's unbelievable, which was his way of saying, there's just too many things to talk about. There are so many opportunities. There's so much going on. It's sort of just unbelievable, Bud. How are you? And he would always kind of deflect the question in a very positive way. I honestly believe that he did it so that he would not burden anybody else with whatever he had to carry in his day-to-day. He was one of the most consistent people I've ever met. To this day, he still is. But then I would get a little frustrated with him every now and then. I would say, Paul, come on, be serious. How are you? I guess I really wanted to hear Paul complain about something. And I guess I wanted to be negative because I have more of a negative bent in my way of life, And so I would say to him, how are you? He said, Bud, I have so many opportunities to make a difference. And he would stop. but I have so many opportunities to make a difference. And he just would stop. And so there he leaves me with unbelievable, and I have so many opportunities. And every time I asked him, he was the same. And he lived a life so consistently, loving his wife, his kids, and doing such a great job for the company he worked for. He's one of my heroes in my life. I really, really, really was blessed and am blessed to be a friend to Paul Picard, and him a friend to me as well. And as positive as Paul was, and what a blessing he's been to me, I got to tell you this. The most optimistic person, the most honest person, the most shocking person in my life is Jesus. Just the thought of what Jesus said he is and he can do is mind-blowing. If we just take this one verse, I have told you this so that my joy may be in you and your joy may complete, and that he said that to a group of disciples, most of whom would be martyred, all of whom would be persecuted and hated. And in the scriptures, he's saying this to every single disciple on the face of the earth right now. There is no optimism like that comes out of the mouth of even politicians who promise everything and deliver less. He promises everything and delivers. I wonder what it would be like if we as believers actually listened to Jesus. And we actually let him say exactly what he is saying. Jesus was 100% honest. In the world, you will have tribulations. In the world, if they hated me, they're going to hate you. In the world, you're going to go up against temptation. In the world, there will be storms and floods and all kinds of things coming against you. But he just speaks. He says, if you hear these words of mine and you obey them, you're like a person who builds your house on a rock, and nothing can take you off that rock. If we would just let him speak, and if we would listen, we would experience more and more of the miracle of what he is and what he says he can do. He says he can forgive. Well, let's let him do that. Quit trying to negotiate your own forgiveness. Just listen to what he says. He will forgive you and cleanse you from all unrighteousness. He says that he can turn you into a person in whom there are rivers of living water flowing. Just listen and put it to the test. Believe. That's your work. My work, our work is to believe. That's it, to believe. Let him talk to you and believe. And you'll find that your happiness can become completely distinct from where you are, the outcome of an election, the system under which you're living, governmentally, politically, the financial opportunities that are there or have disappeared. You can experience a miracle of inner happiness in the midst of anything, according to Jesus. Let's stop minimizing what he said, listen, accept it, believe it, and experience it. If you can get a complete happiness from Jesus one time and experience it, then it is repeatable, it's portable, it travels well. And if I can have it where I am and you can have it where you are, we can begin to prove to the world that complete happiness is not a pipe dream, it's a true dream, and it comes from the words of Jesus. Give some thought to this. Go back to John chapter 15, read John chapter 15. Let Jesus say what he says. and say, I'm going to believe this. So whatever happens around me, I'm not going to let define me, and I'm going to live the happiness you say that you can give to me. Do we really believe that? I believe it. I have lived it. I'm living it. Not perfectly, but I'm experiencing it. I pray you will too. God bless you.